Welcome back to Gaming. This week in Godforge episode 8. Let's get into it. All right, first up we have this image or concept here. Well, it is an image, but a concept for a character for 60,000 subs on YouTube. It was posted on Discord. It is for Shilong. It was created by Esther, who we saw on last week's podcast with Mike, I forget his title, but overall he's kind of like the video director, I guess, in charge of the cinematic and the cutscenes, things of that nature. Like I said before, I think dragons are going to be a huge part of the main story. Originally, I thought maybe it was Odin's brothers trying to get power back, and they're using dragons to get that. I'm not so sure about that now. That was originally based on how developed that faction seemed to be. Uh, I did talk to Ragewood a bit, and he suggested, possibly Titans are using dragons. I thought that was a very strong guess, very good guess. Also, his guesses are usually pretty spot on, so I wouldn't be surprised if that's what it turns out to be. But yeah, again, another dragon that I think is going to be used to overthrow the current gods for some being or beings to regain power. But let's take a look here. We got Pearl, could be used for other dragons as well. Okay. Both armaments and hair are intended to look like clouds and also fire as well. Okay. Yeah, I guess I could see that you could just change the color. Okay. Pulsing VFX on horns. The one on the hair should be like thunder. Huh, okay. I guess that's that right there. I'm not sure. Or maybe that's that. Since he only has four claws holding the pearl, looks a bit odd. Could be floating. Oh, I see, because he's holding it there and then there. Yeah, you see his two hands and it's floating. Interesting. Yeah, I guess they could use that as sort of like a source of power, like projectiles come from it or it's a shield or something. Probably be better instead of the center if it almost floated off to one side, right? Almost like a little companion. If you remember Fantasy Star Online, you had those little, I don't know, things that kind of floated behind you and would help you out and stuff. Kind of that, give you that vibe. So, like, you see right here, but it'd be floating right here in game. I think that could be cool. But, anyways, I'm going to move on to the Tuesday's video because there's a lot of interesting stuff in that. So, let's get to that. All right, the name of this video is Gods Need Weapons. Okay, let's take a look. So the first thing I want to call out is these arrows up here that are based on the affinity of the attacking characters. You can see these three characters all have different affinities. I believe that's just manipulated for the video because these are all the same character. I don't think we're going to have a way to change the affinity of characters. But anyway, so double green is strong, yellow is normal, and then he said for red it could be weak. So I don't know if that means if it's red it will definitely be weak. We'll have a percentage chance of it being weak. What that percentage chance is, I don't know. You can also see the icons here for the debuffs, which are red, and the blue, which are buffs. I will say these look better as well. I don't know if there's more detail in them. The colors appear to be deeper and richer, the red and the blue, as compared to previous videos. Maybe that's just me misremembering, but I think these look better as well. You can also see the enemy health here, which is red. That's not indicative, as far as I know, of a buff or a debuff. It's just enemies are red and then heroes are green. The gray is a shield, which you can see on all the characters as well. And then you have this sort of affinity box here that is filling up to let you know when you have an ultimate. For example, you can see Aphrodite down here has her ultimate full, and then you have kind of this blue flame look. So that's pretty cool. And he did say you don't necessarily have to use it when it's only her turn. When it's your team's turn, you can click on her and use her ultimate, even if it's not Aphrodite's turn. So that'll be some cool combos we can pull off. How exactly and what they do, we'll have to wait and see. He said these are passive, so this appears to be some type of cooldown, or either has to fill up to trigger the passive. This is your basic, and this is your core. So if this kind of shows you the cooldown without having to click on it, that could be a cool feature as well. Okay, let's take a look over here at the turn meter. I'll splice in a part where he actually shows him scrolling through it so you can see the full turn meter. Um, it's just useful here, to have this as opposed to just the guessing based on the turn meter. You kind of know roughly who's going to go, but if you want to set up more long-term strategies, specifically when you're manualing stuff and, a long fight or a boss fight, this is going to be very helpful. Simon also asked, how we feel about this red. I wasn't sure at first. I thought maybe a red border would be better, and then you could use red to show a debuff. Then I'm like, well, they have a debuff and a buff, which certainly can happen. So how would you do that? You have blue coming in here, red coming in here. That seems kind of confusing. So for now, I'll say I like it. I don't know if you need this little red half dot if you just have the red here. That seems kind of redundant. You don't really need it. I would say this is good right here, just a little red shadowing. Let me know what you guys think down below. Next, I'll skip to a part where he kind of talks about this part up here. Obviously, you can see auto and one-time speed. He also showed you can just do a cinematic view if you're on full auto, which is cool. I like to see the details, so I don't think I would use it that often, but very cool if you're that type of person who just wants to show this. Also could be good if you want to take screenshots because something cool is coming up, or to maybe do a screen grab, record it. As you'll see here, he does 1, 2, 3. So confirmed 3x is in the game. We didn't know before. I don't think for sure if that was just part of the sort of developer build that they could use, but he does say 3x speed there. He also talks about auto, and he talked about they want to enable a feature to not use a core ability so the cooldown essentially isn't in place when you go to the next stage. So sort of think of it as similar to the skill priority that Raid has, but we'll have to wait and see how they implement it. Okay, you also see the drop down here. Under the pause menu, you see information, which will tell you more about this stuff. That cinematic view that I talked about. And then this part, I want to show where it shows, like, as you can see there, you can see attack. So you know who's doing the most damage. Red, that makes sense for damage. Okay, here you see healing. Also, it's kind of crazy. What is like Zeus just the best at everything? 2.1 damage and healing. I assume they just put these numbers in to demonstrate it. I would say though healing should be green, and then I think we're gonna see shield is gray, or not gray, is yellow. So similar to turn meter. Yeah, you can see it's yellow there. I would say red is fine for damage. Healing should be green to me, because if we have active buffs are blue, it's kind of weird that healing would be blue. I would say make that color green. And then for shields, I know it's gray on the bar here, but to me that's a buff, so it would make more sense if the shield was blue. And then it's weird too that because the yellow is the same color as the turn meter, so I would change that. I would say make this green and this blue. But think about how helpful this is going to be when you're essentially trying to tune teams as well, that you can look at it while in fight. Whatever the version of this game's unkillable clan boss turns out to be, it will be helpful to be able to use these real time as you're going to sort of tune that team. I think it might make that process a bit easier. We'll have to wait and see, but let's move on to the gear. So here's the initial screen for gear. A bit of a spoiler alert is weapons work differently in this game than I've really seen in other games, Raid, Watcher, things of that nature. So I would say this is sort of your basic armor set, or not your basic armor. This is your basic equipment here. So you have a helmet, shoulders, gloves, chest, legs, feet. So that's where this 2 out of 6 for like this gauntlet will come, and you'll get these bonuses. The weapon is something completely different that we'll take a look at in a minute. One thing I am kind of confused about is this 4 right here. So you see this is called Flawless Nightweave Gauntlets of the Wolf. So the orange color we'll see later actually indicates the flawless nature of this gauntlet. And we'll also see once he equips it, we'll see like a little plus 16, which I believe is related to how many times you've enhanced it. Now is 16 the max? We don't know yet. So my question would be, what is this 4 indicating here? I don't know. He didn't show enough sets or enough different gear that I've really been able to determine that just from looking. But you can see they're starting off with bigger sets. You know, if you want to kind of compare this to Raid, I forget the name of the set 'cause I haven't used it in so long, but like essentially the basic set that ups your attack. I think it's just called the attack set, you know? That would sort of be the equivalent here. 5% attack at the start of each wave. Now, does that mean it expires? It's kind of like a buff that can expire. We'll have to wait and see. But as we'll see later, they've already built in, you know, 4 and 6. You can see right there, 2 out of 6. They show the 4. We don't know what the 6 is. But let's go to the equipped part. So yeah, you see it's equipped there. You got the plus 16. So I believe that has to do with these rolls here. He also said when enhancing, your stats will go up each roll, so you'll have a better idea from the beginning how things are going. So you don't have to go, you know, to 8 or 12. You also see this little blue right here, which is connected to the attunement, which is per character. So equipping and unequipping costs nothing. Unless you've attuned a piece of equipment, it will cost money to remove that, so you can remove it from the character. How much? We don't know right now. So yeah, you can see here the rolling up. This one's going well in accuracy, speed, sort of intelligence, crit damage, and attack, not so much. Also, what's of interest here is 5 stats instead of 4. And you can see it's plus 4 already. And he's the 5 here, so that tells us that yes, the 16 we saw earlier down in the corner at one of those pieces was the level of the gear. So again, what does this 4 mean? I don't know. But another interesting piece is if you have 4 pieces, 25% attack. That's pretty huge, right? At least it appears to be pretty huge. We'll have to wait and see how much that affects in-game things. Is 25 huge? Because we've seen so far in some of these skills, they'll be able to be boosted by dual stats. So 25% attack is big, or at least it seems big, but when you have a skill that can go up by, you know, attack and defense, you know, maybe 25% attack isn't as big as we're thinking as it would be in, say, something like Raid. We'll have to wait and see. All right, so then he showed this quick little picture of the Forge of Wayland. He didn't click on any of these, so we didn't get to see any of that, but he said this is where you can power up and forge gear. So here we see the weapons. Right now you can see it's a 2-star, 23 out of 60. And like I was saying, you can see clear star levels on the weapons. So again, I don't know what that little 4 up in the upper right-hand corner meant on the gauntlet. So we'll have to wait and see. But as you can see, weapons, you have legendary, epic, and rare. This one's ability is using an ultimate ability has 30% chance to refresh the cooldown of the core ability. So that's pretty good. We'll also see you can imbue things on a weapon later. That's related to rares, or not rares, to duplicates. As you can see here, you can refine weapons, aka leveling them up. This changes the stats. I don't believe it changes the ability. He didn't say, and he didn't show it, so I'm not sure, but I don't think it does. As you can see, you need 20k of these little blue things. We'll see down here in a minute deconstruct, which I believe is how you get these. So yeah, you'll see you can add different weapons in, and then I assume you just hit confirm, and it'll tell you how many of those little blue stones you get, which you can then use to level up your weapons. Next, we'll take a look at the imprint. So he doesn't really show it here, the process, but you click on imprint, and what I've gathered is you choose a weapon, right? So let's say we'd throw this, I believe that was Excalibur's logo. You throw that Excalibur in here, and then where does this come from? So he said there's a couple places. One is dupe champions, and another is you can actually earn them. How do you earn them? I don't know, maybe tournaments or events. We'll have to wait and see. I would like it if you do earn them from tournaments or events, you kind of earn a picker. So maybe not a specific imprint, but either choose from a specific faction or a specific level. Like this imprint can be any rare or any epic or any legendary. Now I doubt they're going to give out the legendaries too much. That would probably be more specific. Or, like I said, it could be an imprint from anyone within that faction, or maybe it'll be specific level and faction. We'll have to wait and see. But either way, so you use a dupe hero or an imprint that you've earned somewhere else. All right, so here's sort of the basics of a weapon. I didn't notice that before, so you can tell if it's imprinted if that logo's there. I wonder if that logo changes based on what you have imprinted or if it's just a generic icon letting you know it's been imprinted. But either way, you see who it's equipped to, if it's attuned or not in the rank. All that makes sense. Oh, the frame. Yeah, we knew that. Tells you the rarity. All right, let's take a look over here. Again, kind of all standard stuff we figured. So this appears to be equipped on Ramses, but then this is the Kojiki faction symbol. So that's kind of interesting there. I wonder how that plays into it. Can you get an Excalibur of, I don't know, something else of Arthur, and then it's a different faction, has a different ability, but maybe same sort of initial stats? I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, you can see the stats here, bonus info and imprint info. So here you see some different weapons. Again, they all show that Kojiki faction. I'm very interested to see now how that plays into things. I did not catch that before, and I'm very curious. Oh, and they all have the same ability. Interesting. So I wonder if that has something to do with this ability as well. We'll have to wait and see. Okay, so now here is where we see. Okay, so that answers that question. That this is the Excalibur of, I don't know how you say that, Sasanu, and that's imprinted. You see here, no imprint. At the start of each round, this hero gains shield for 2 turns equal to 12% of the hero's max HP. So that is completely separate from this ability up here. Now this really got my brain kind of percolating or thinking, like this is tailor-made for building solo champs. Now, will we need solo champs in this game? We'll have to wait and see. So to me, this is very similar to Raid's blessing system, but better because it uses duplicate champions. Now, is this going to be like Watcher, where when you get a duplicate champion, there's not really a point in having it because you can only ever really use one? We'll have to wait and see. I hope they don't do it that way. So if I wanted to build 2 of somebody, I could and build them differently. And then if you have multiple dupes, can you power this up, like strengthen it? Will it, decrease or not decrease the cooldown since it's 2 turns? Will it increase the amount the shield lasts, or will it increase the amount it's based off of? We'll have to wait and see, sort of think of blessings, the star levels, that type of thing. But I think, yeah, this is just going to be an incredible system because it's not a completely separate system, but will give you an incredible extra buff or skill based on duplicates. And like, we know these games. That's the name of the game, Poland Champs. That's where the fun's at. You want that little dopamine hit when you get the I guess we'll have to see when their final animation comes out, what color it is, but it'll probably be gold or yellow of some color. When you see that flash on the screen, you're going to get that little excitement. And in this case, hopefully, even if it's not a good champ, but the champ has a good ability and you imprint it, I mean, that's still a game changer. So this could be a very good system. We'll have to wait and see, though. But so far, I'm very, very excited about this, It seems to be geared towards every champ's going to be usable in some way, even if you don't use that champ specifically. So that's what I like about it. Let me know down below what you guys think on this little bit we can see on the, imprint system. Okay, this is interesting too here. I did notice this before. I don't know what, I guess we won't really know until we click on the attune, but how it's done. But apparently these are both part of the attunement system, this blue and this red. I would guess this is kind of heart-shaped. So this is going to have to do more with skills that would be defensive, defense, resistance, health, things of that nature. And then possibly this is, more attack based stats, attack, speed, accuracy, things of that nature. I think what he's just showing here is the different you can see just by looking at it when you have it equipped. You have both. Here you only have this one, and here you only have this one. Interesting. Okay. Okay, and then this is what I was talking about earlier. I'll just show these three. He does show common and uncommon down below, but you get the point here that they all say flawless. Well, now I'm confused again, but you can clearly see like legendary, epic, and rare. But I thought flawless was also indicative of the quality. Maybe it's not. Huh, interesting. Actually, that makes me want to look at the common and uncommon. They also say flawless. Okay. Well, now I'm more confused than before. One thing I also forgot to mention, I just wanted to show real quick. The UI isn't working exactly right, but you can see there will be a search ability. Can't really make out. That's obviously rarity, rank, awakening, affinity, maybe. Hard to tell. Um, but he said one thing that's very interesting is you'll be able to search, for example, if an item doesn't have a stat on it, which I've definitely needed in Raid. So I'm glad that they're adding that right off the base. Again, he says it's flawless, so I'm confused as, I was originally thinking orange means flawless, but then these all here show flawless as well, but then you have the orange, the purple, and the blue. I'm thinking legendary, epic, and rare, whereas I was thinking flawless was the orange color. So I guess let me know down below what you guys think. Did they just manipulate this for the sake of the video? Because that's kind of how it looks, right? Okay, so after rewatching a little part with Simon at the beginning and looking at this, I do think flawless, when you click on it, you'll see that the orange color means flawless, and then you'll have a name for epic and rare. And they've just manipulated this for the sake of the video. Because if you look, they have the exact same stats, which is not realistic based on the item quality level, legendary, epic, rare, that they're +8, that they all have the same stats. So I think it's just manipulated for the video. So I will assume for now, flawless is essentially legendary, epic will have a different name, rare will have a different name. Let me know down below if you think that's correct or if you think it's something else. All right, let's take a look at Thursday's podcast. All right, now for the Thursday podcast. So this week's guest is M Tashed, I guess is how you say it. I'm not too familiar with him. The first time I actually heard about him is when this project came out, so I'm not entirely sure what he does and doesn't cover, but he has a ton of subscribers over on YouTube. So if you're interested, you can go check it out. Uh, First thing they kind of talked about was the overall change since the sort of inception of the game. MTash, sounds like he reached out pretty early to collaborate with Simon on this or be part of the team. I'm not sure exactly how it started, but he's been part of it from the beginning, so they kind of went over how much it's changed from the sort of gray box levels to where it's at now. Then they mostly talked about roguelike, like Like, and roguelite type things. They did also say, though, the cinematic will be out about a month from now, but at the end, Brad said at the end of it, when this video goes live, it'll be about 2 weeks. So we may be getting it a little earlier than we thought. So one thing they did do was define roguelike versus roguelite. Roguelike it's a new run every time. And then a roguelite, you do have small progression. You can get things, so you start the run stronger every time. They did discuss, do they want to do a normalized version or a version where you use your roster? I'll talk a bit about what I think about that later because they talk about some other stuff that I think could be interesting. They did say, too, they want to have one normalized mode when the game launches, but that could be PvP or sort of this roguelite or roguelike. They didn't really say. Does seem like they kind of have an idea, but they're not saying. They're keeping it kind of close to the vest. So I guess we'll have to wait and see. Another thing they talked about is they said, is this essentially another game on its own within a game? And I would say yes, to me it is. That doesn't necessarily make it bad. It just means you do have to make sure it could stand on its own if it had to, even if it adds to the other game. They all sort of seem to agree with that. MTash said the only one he's really played that he thought was good is Honkai Star Rail's version. I haven't tried that, so I can't speak on it. I guess if you have down below, let me know what you like about it. And related to that, he said, they play so many of them that feel like a chore in the sense that you don't want to miss out on the rewards you can get from it, but you don't really want to do it. So they're very cognizant of that. They did use AFK Journey as an example as well. And I did play that a little bit. I only played AFK Journey for about a month, but I did like it. Brad, said it was almost great, which I would agree with. And related to that, Brad said he liked the drafting phase of it. So for me, I was thinking if they did do a roguelite where it's essentially new every time, they could also kind of use that as a way to introduce new champs. If we're having like a boosted summons rate for specific champs or something coming up on the weekend, but they have been released, but the boosted summons aren't out yet, or we know they're coming or something. In that roguelike game mode, you could have boosted chance to get those champions for that mode because you don't really have them if they end up kind of doing a seasonal or limited roster run. To me, a seasonal and a limited roster thing is kind of the same thing. They kind of talked about it as two different things, but I kind of look at it the same. You have a limited roster for a certain amount of time. Although you could do multiple limited rosters within a season, but I think you could use a seasonal slash limited roster to introduce new characters that you don't fully have on your account. If they release some new sun god for whatever faction, obviously later after launch, if you play this roguelike for that season, within that season, have a 10x chance to get that hero if you play that mode. And then you would lose him next season and you don't have him on your full roster. But it gives you a chance to kind of test him out. So I like that idea. They did also talk about having leaderboards, to make it more competitive. And I thought if you have leaderboards, which they sounds like they do want to have, and they want it to be a rewarding game mode, to refer to Tuesday's video, could that be a way we maybe earn these imprints for, the weapons we get? Could it be a way we earn currency and then you can buy specific ones that are always in the shop or something? That's a possibility as well. They also talked about should it end or should it be continuous? For me personally, I do like when they end. That way you can rotate them and add new things in or take new things out. Some games I have played that have a mode like this, they put in these little tweaks or whatever on a regular basis or season, whatever you want to call it. So I think it's very important to have those be impactful, and MTash mentioned that many times because I played ones where it seems like they put in all this work and like, oh, you get this boost to attack or you can't heal, blah, blah, blah. But in the end of the day, you can just ignore it and essentially use what the meta for the game is and still win. And I don't want that, and it sounds like they don't want that either, so I do think this could be a very cool game mode, but we'll have to wait and see. And we'll have to wait and see if it comes out on launch. I kind of get the feeling it won't, as much as they're talking about it with how they haven't really nailed down ideas yet for it. We'll have to wait and see kind of how the beta goes. Maybe that'll help them decide more. But as much as it seems like it's still up in the air, I don't think it's going to come out when the game launches. That's just my opinion. And then, as always, at the end, they asked him, some of his favorite heroes, mythologies, that things of that nature. And he actually said he likes Greek mythology, and he mentioned Achilles. And then Brad pointed out that Achilles has been leaked. And as always, if you want to check out the what has or hasn't been leaked, ragewoodgaming.com is always a good resource. I use it on a daily basis when I'm making these videos to see what may or may not have already been confirmed in case I missed it in the past. And at the very end, MTash does a couple of voice impressions. I'll try and cut that in. It was pretty funny. Seems like he's a pretty talented guy. Wouldn't guess, just some random YouTuber can do these kind of voice impressions. And that's it. Let's get to Friday's leak. Actually, before we get to Friday's leak, here's the quick little thing of his impressions. It made me laugh, so I thought I would add it in.
everybody, my name's Elmo. Today, I'm playing Godforge. Gosh, Mickey. Yoo-hoo-hoo-wee. Oh, Goofy. You want to know what really grinds my gears? And what would that be, Peter? All these people telling me to do voice impressions on the fly. Can't really do it. Hey, Peter. Sometimes they just want to see your talent in action. It's pretty exciting when he. I don't know. There's like different.
Yeah, he kind of lost the what's his name, Joe from Family Guy there at the end, but still pretty good, right? Okay, let's get to Friday's leak. All right, well, at the time of recording this, there is no Friday leaks. It's Friday morning, so I'm gonna just put the video out. If you made it this far, thanks for watching. If you liked the video, think about giving it a thumbs up. And as always, there's a link down below if you want 10% off your Godforge or Fateless gear. I don't get any kickback. It's just a discount for you guys. And I'll see you next time. Bye.